Hi everybody, it's Dana and I am back with another quick tip for you today. This is a kitchen tip. So if you've been following me on social media or on my website, you know that I am an acupuncturist and herbalist. I help women feel amazing during and after menopause using customized herbal remedies supported by the best diet and lifestyle for their hormones through all my free resources and my online programs. But one of the things that I love to do is I love to cook. I love to use, the best diet for your hormones and superfoods. And you'll also notice if you look through my social media that I really love chocolate. I love to eat chocolate. I think there's like a gene for chocolate and I have it. It makes me happy. And I really do believe that it can be a healthy superfood as well. And so today's video is a quick tip on something to do with chocolate that's more about the deliciousness than really going into details about all the health benefits. I certainly have other ones on that. But one of the things that really bugs me is when, like, say you're having ice cream or a smoothie and you put some chocolate chips on there. And the chocolate chips are so hard that when you're chewing them, you could almost be chewing just like anything. You don't really taste the chocolate of them until they melt, which is the reason for, like hot fudge and hot chocolate and all those forms of chocolate where you can really get the chocolate flavor. But sometimes with chocolate chips, especially in ice cream where the chocolate is cold, it's really hard to taste the chocolatiness of the chocolate when you first start chewing those chocolate chips, and it just breaks my heart. So I wanted to give you a tip today, something that I learned when I was in cooking school. I went to cooking school. I actually used to be a pastry chef a really long time ago, and I studied with this guy named Albert Kumin, who was one of the great pastry chefs of all time. He was an amazing elderly man when I studied with him. He was just incredible. And so he taught me this tip that I'm going to share with you today on how to make melt-away chocolate chips that even if they're in something cold like ice cream, as soon as they get in your mouth, they melt so you taste the flavor of them right away. And there's two ways you can make them. The easiest is if you're making something like ice cream, what you do is when the ice cream is almost finished, and I also in the blog written out with this post give you one of my favorite healthy ice cream recipes, which is like totally healthy. So you can eat it every day. And you make it in a high-speed blender, like a Blendtec or a Vitamix. And what you do is at the end, when the ice cream is almost finished, but it's still stirring around, and you can do this in an ice cream maker too, what you do is you take your chocolate and you melt it. And what you do is, like, I learned how to temper chocolate in cooking school. This is the opposite of tempering chocolate. It's like anti-tempering. Tempering makes chocolate stronger. We're going to make the chocolate weaker. So what you do is you heat the chocolate up till it is very liquidy, so hotter than you really need to. So it's melted, and then you continue to heat it a little bit more. And the best way to do this is put it in a bowl over a pot of simmering water. So then you take your hot melted chocolate and you pour it into your cold frozen ice cream as it's stirring, and the stream of chocolate will break up into little chunks that will go from being really hot to frozen right away. And this chocolate has a very unstable molecular structure, and so when you eat it as a chocolate chip, it will just melt as soon as it hits your mouth. And I wanted to show you the chocolate chips I've been using lately. These are from a company called Pasha, and these are just unsweetened 100% pure cacao chocolate chips, and they're so tasty and delicious. And as long as they're in something like sweet, like an ice cream, even if it's just made with fruit, I love my chocolate really, really dark, so I don't even mind it unsweetened. But of course, you can add a little bit of maple syrup or date syrup or stevia once it's melted. It's really easy to do. And the other way you can make melted chocolate chips that melt away is you can make melted chocolate out of just melted coconut oil and cacao powder with whatever sweetening you like. And then you just like pour it on a piece of parchment paper and put it in the freezer till it hardens. Break it or cut it into chocolate chips. Now you are gonna have to store these in the fridge or freezer or they will kind of melt, but they certainly will melt as soon as you eat them, and you'll get that chocolatey burst of chocolatey goodness as soon as they hit your mouth. So that is my tip for when you want to use your knowledge of tempering chocolate to do exactly the opposite and create a very unstable chocolate chip that will melt immediately as soon as it hits your mouth because it's so much yummier to eat. So I hope you enjoyed this quick kitchen tip. If you try it out, please let me know how it goes. And a couple of last things, just it might seem obvious, but when you're pouring the hot melted chocolate into the cold ice cream, if you pour a thinner stream of it, you're going to get little skinny chocolate chips, and if you pour a thick stream, it's going to freeze and you'll get bigger, chunkier chips. So that's kind of to your taste. And of course, you could also take your melted chocolate, pour it onto some parchment paper or a silicone sheet, and stick it in the freezer. Right? So you basically just want it to go from really hot to really cold as fast as possible. And then once it hardens up, you could break it or cut it into the size chips that you want. And those will be hard at room temperature, but will also be very unstable. So they'll also melt really easily. Now, if they're in the sort of like stream form, they're also smaller. The thinner and smaller, that also helps them melt more easily, but that also will give you a good Meltaway chocolate chip. So I hope you enjoyed this quick kitchen tip. Let me know your favorite way to eat healthy chocolate, and thanks for joining me today. There's tons of other great resources over on my website, danalavoielac.com, and let me know what you want to see in these quick tip videos. All right, bye. Have a great rest of your day.